Welcome back to SamiJReads. I'm Sami, and this is basically the place in which I read a book, I review it, and hopefully I save you from reading a terrible book. Before I start this review, I want to apologize. I'm currently recovering from being sick. I have spent the last 24 hours on a couch sweating out whatever I have. So if I sound really nasally, it's because I have a stuffy nose, or it's running one of the two. It has not really chosen what it wants to do, so yeah. This week's book review is on a young adult novel by Westerfeld, Uglies. Uglies was first recommended to me when the Twilight hype was getting really big. At the time I was, I think, a sophomore in college, and so I was talking with some friends and I was like, oh, I want to read a series that is not Twilight, because I'll be honest, sparkling vampires don't really fly by me. No. To this day, I have not read Twilight, and I probably never will unless I get probably like 10,000 people telling me to read it, but I want a good reason to read it. So if 10,000 people can recommend me to read this book with good reason to read it, then I'll read it, but I don't see that happening. Uglies is set in a world that is basically our future. Everything has become very technology dependent. We live on a grid, so everything that is on the grid is powered by the grid. I really enjoyed how Westerfeld built upon the technology dependent world that we currently have, because I don't know anyone who doesn't have a cell phone, who doesn't have a laptop, who doesn't have a camera, who doesn't have something that allows instant gratification or instant communication. In this new society, turning 16 is a big turning point. Not because you get your driver's license. It is because you get this sort of medical procedure, it's called the operation, in which you are turned into being a pretty. An ugly is someone who you have imperfections in yourself. You have one eye that's bigger than the other. You have one ear that's a little bit smaller than the other, and your skin just isn't perfect and your body is in imperfect proportion. So when you turn 16, you get this operation and you basically become pretty. All your imperfections are corrected or removed, and you become the image of perfection that is seen in this world. Of the characters that we end up meeting, we meet Tally, who is about to turn 16. She'll be able to become pretty through this operation, but things don't work out according to plan, because this one friend she makes, forgive me for spacing on her name, she ends up disappearing, and so Tally must go find her. And this is where the story does not involve itself completely in this world. It involves another society that lives off the grid. After Tally sets out on her adventure to find this secret society and eventually reaches that point, we meet David. David for me was an instant favorite. His main goal is to save others before they turn 16, so other uglies, and bring them to this society in which they are still seen as being pretty. There's nothing wrong with them. It's great to have imperfections, and that's what makes everyone beautiful. Also, David is one of my favorite characters in this book because I have a friend by the name of David, and they're very similar in certain aspects. They both have the scar on their eyebrow, and they both have similar hair colors. And they both behave in the same manner, they both see life in a similar manner. The main differences, besides time difference though, is that my David is an MMA cage fighter, whereas this David is not, so that means my David has a lot more muscle. So Tally continues on her adventures as she finds out more about the world that she's been brought up in, and she's introduced to a lot of new thoughts and ideas. Revelations come to Tally, which really adds into her character. It makes her a little less bubble-headed and more head screwed on straight, which I was thankful for. So with the story itself, the plot is just the common plot in which our era ends, and through it we have technology blooming that brings about a new world, a new life. What made this story unique was the fact that things were built upon that we have in our life. We have cliques that were built upon, and instead of just having a clique in high school, you have a clique among the entire society. You are born and you're brought into this world of kids, and you only hang out with the kids. When you get older, you are pretty much considered the uglies, and so you hang out with the uglies. When you turn 16, you become a pretty, and so you hang out with the pretties, and then when you reach the age of adulthood, you become an adult and you get a job. And so then you go from there and you have a family, and the entire thing just repeats over and over again. So it's this big giant clique. Uglies cannot hang out with pretties. Uglies don't really want to hang out with kids because they're so little. No one wants to hang out with the adults unless you're an adult. So it's a very extreme clique world, and I loved it because I could see that happening to us. Another aspect that I enjoyed about this book was how Westerfeld took our already current slightly brainwashing view on perfection and beauty, and instead of removing it, he added on to it. He basically multiplied it to the point that it is to an extreme that even our surgery-crazed women out there would disagree on how far this goes. I don't know if you guys have done this, but if you've gone onto like the photo booth on Max and you've done the mirrored image and you gotten yourself perfectly like mirrored to look symmetrical, you look really creepy. You don't look normal, you don't look beautiful, you look really creepy. When I read this book, I loved it from start to finish. There was not a bit that I could disagree on. I was instantly captivated with the fact that we have our past world that led into this new world. And we're known as the Rusties because we were very dependent on steel and Earth's resources and anything scarce, and we basically brought upon our own doom. There was a giant catastrophic fire and giant catastrophic world ends. It brought about this new technology era that does not rely on any of Earth's resources, with the fact of just having some ground to set everything on. It's also sort of like Futurama in a way. If you watch Futurama, you know that there's old New York that's below new New York, and then there's other levels below it. And the fact that each one builds off the another based on how technology has been built upon each time, it's really fun and unique in that way. And so with Uglies, you have that similar aspect, except nothing's built upon by levels. You end up just having the old rusty ruins that are off in one way, and then you have the new society built on technology in another area. So that's it on SamiJReads. If you have read Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, go ahead, comment down below on what you liked, you didn't like, or if you've read the series, go ahead and comment what you thought about the series. If you have a book that you want me to read, review, and do the whole shebang, go ahead, comment down below, go to my Goodreads profile, or comment, or basically contact me in any way that you can, and I'll check the book out, and I'll read it, and I'll review it, and yeah, you'll have the whole shebang right there. If you want to see more book reviews, go ahead and hit the subscribe up above, and I will be seeing you guys in your inbox every Thursday. So that's it on SamiJReads, and I'll see you guys on the other side of the book. Bye! Westerfeld. Oh my god, I can't feel my lips, you guys. I don't know why. Hi.